Hey folks, this is Kalani. Welcome back to Legion Beta, where we're finally going to be looking at Enhancement Shaman. So as with all of these videos, we're going to go through the basic abilities, then the talents, then the artifact and how that affects how we play. For Enhancement Shaman, we're actually going to start with the passives because they are incredibly important. So Maelstrom Weapon. Each time you deal damage with a melee weapon, you generate 5 Maelstrom, which is our new resource which will power all of our fantastic abilities. We have our Mastery, which increases the chance to trigger Stormbringer and Wind Fury. Get to those in a bit, there they are. And increases the Frost, Fire and Nature damage you deal, so basically all of the damage you deal. Reincarnation is the same, allows you to resurrect as a battle res whenever you want on a 30-minute cooldown. Stormbringer, each of your main hand attacks has a 9% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike and cause your next Storm Strike to cost 50% less Maelstrom and trigger no cooldown. Stormlash is a nice party and raid buff. When your weapons are enhanced, your attacks have a chance to grant Stormlash to up to 3 party or raid members for 8 seconds, causing attacks and spellcasts to deal additional nature damage. So if they get buffed with it, they do extra damage. Wind Fury, each of your main hand attacks has a 9% chance to trigger 3 extra attacks, so basically what Wind Fury has always been. Now, for the basic abilities, we do have quite a few, which I am happy to say. That's a talent, let's get rid of that. So, first and foremost, we have Rock Biter, because this is what's going to generate most of your Maelstrom. Assaults your target with Earthen Power, dealing nature damage and generating 10 Maelstrom. That's no cooldown. And we can happily spam it. That is your filler for basically building your resource. From there, we have Storm Strike, which is probably the hardest hitting ability that we have. Energizes both your weapons with lightning and delivers a massive blow to your target, dealing a total of about 90k damage on a 12.2 second cooldown. Now remember, we can reset this with Stormbringer, that's on main hand attacks, so the only thing to increase that is attack speed and by stacking Mastery. So that costs 40 Maelstrom. Then we have Lava Lash. This is going to be your filler when you don't have Storm Strike and you need to spend excess Maelstrom, so to keep you from capping. Charges your offhand weapon with lava and burns your target, dealing a bit of fire damage. It's on no cooldown, melee range 30 Maelstrom. Then we have our Flame Tongue, scorches your target, dealing a bit of fire damage and enhances your weapons with fire for 16 seconds, causing each weapon attack to deal an additional bit of fire damage based on weapon speed. So it's on a 9-second cooldown, 16-second uptime, so you can keep that up pretty much all the time, and you will be. Bear in mind that that is your first enhancement of your weapon, so you will need Flame Tongue active if you want to trigger Stormlash. Typically it happens very quickly. You can see we've got the Stormlash buff already. So it goes on to you, and you deal extra damage with your auto attacks because you get Stormlash, but then you also spread it to other people. So very important buff to keep up. You need to keep your Flame Tongue up for both of those reasons, really. Then we also have Frostbrand, which doesn't do any damage on your attacks itself, but you can talent it later. Chills your target, dealing a bit of frost damage, and enhances your weapons with frost for 15 seconds, causing each weapon attack to reduce the target's movement speed by 50%. Bear in mind that these two are actually a 10-yard range, so you can run up and basically use this as an initiation, which is always cool to have. We have Purge, as we always do, purging the enemy target, removing 1 beneficial magic effect. We have Hex, which does what it always did. We still have Wind Shear, so we have a very reliable interrupt. It's on a 12-second cooldown. We also get Lightning Bolt. Doesn't do a great deal on its own, is instant, doesn't cost anything, but it is a ranged attack, so if you ever need to run about and do a ranged attack to keep some DPS up, you still have Lightning Bolt. We still have Ghost Wolf. Happily run around as a Ghost Wolf, and a new ability, Crash Lightning. Costs 20 Maelstrom on a 4.58 second cooldown, electrocutes all enemies in front of you, dealing a bit of nature damage, and hitting 2 or more enhances your weapons for 10 seconds, causing Storm Strike and Lava Lash to also deal damage to targets in front of you. So we can hit both targets here with Storm Lash, and then we can see that Storm Strike and Lava Lash will also hit targets in front of you, so it's a nice way to AoE, really, and to cleave. It's really cool to have. As a cooldown, we have Feral Spirit, summons 2 Spirit Wolves that aid you in battle for 15 seconds. They're immune to movement impairing effects and grant you 5 Maelstrom for each time they attack. So not only is it a damage increase, it also increases the amount of Maelstrom you can generate while they are active. Other defensive abilities and utilities are Astral Shift, 1.5 minute cooldown, reduces the damage you take by 40% for 6 seconds. We come with a Healing Surge. While you have Maelstrom, this will cost Maelstrom and is instant, which is really cool. So as long as you have Maelstrom, it will cost Maelstrom and mana, and it will be instant. But if you don't have any Maelstrom, it will just cost mana, and you'll need a cast time. Then we also have Spirit Walk, removes all movement impairing effects and increases your movement speed by 60% for 8 seconds. We have Ancestral Spirit, which is just a res. We still have Heroism or Bloodlust, depending on which faction. Cleanse Spirit removes all curse effects from a friendly target, so as a DPS Shaman you can still remove curses, which is nice to have in a raid. Water Walking, where would we be without it? And we still have Farsight, so maybe you'll use that, maybe you won't. That's all the basic abilities. Now let's have a look at your first artifact ability, because this is very important to Enhancement Shaman. So we'll do this a little backwards. We'll do this, then we'll go to talents, and then we'll look at the rest of the artifact, because this really ties into everything, and it's also going to tie into how you use your talents. So we get Doom Winds, unleashes the inner power of Doomhammer, causing all auto attacks to trigger Wind Fury, and increases damage dealt by Wind Fury by 400% for 6 seconds. So you can see how that might be a little crazy. So essentially, you'll be stacking buffs, and then you'll blow Doom Winds to deal a stupid amount of damage. So we go Doom Winds, and you can see pretty much every single attack is Wind Fury, and deals a crazy amount of damage. Truly a crazy amount. So the way that you choose your talents is really going to focus around how you want to play, and whether you want to play around that Doom Winds cooldown solely or still have damage outside of it. So let's have a look at what talents we have available. Bear in mind that very recently they moved a lot of these around, so some of these might get moved around again. Just bear that in mind. So we have Wind Song. On a 45-second cooldown, lashes your enemy for a bit of damage, bit of nature damage, and enhances your weapons with wind, increasing your attack speed by 20% for 15 seconds. It's on a 45-second cooldown, which is the exact same cooldown as Doom Winds. So I'd actually just macro these together, and I have done. So you can see that they both go up, and we have increased attack speed while every weapon is proccing Wind Fury, and that increased attack speed is obviously going to proc your resets of Storm Strike, so it's just a huge cooldown in and of itself, and you'll end up doing a stupid amount of damage. Hot Hand. Melee attacks with Flame Tongue active also make your next Lava Lash cost no Maelstrom and deal 100% increased damage. Now, this isn't always, this is a chance, even though it doesn't say. So we've got one attack, and then we can see attacks with Flame Tongue go off. It's either that or an internal cooldown. Either way, it's not every single attack. So it's nice though, it means that you won't be spending your Maelstrom on Lava Lash. Hopefully you'll get some Storm Strike resets to actually deal with your Maelstrom, because you're going to have a bunch of it if Lava Lash isn't spending any. Boulder Fist replaces Rock Biter and slams your target with Power of Nature, dealing more damage than Rock Biter would, and enhancing your weapons for 10 seconds, increasing your crit strike chance by 10% and all damage you deal by 5%, and it generates 25 Maelstrom instead of 10. Also comes with 2 charges, and it's now on a 4.5 second cooldown. We can see it deals a lot more damage and provides you with that extra buff, which is incredibly powerful. We have Rainfall, which is an AoE healing puddle for yourself, which Storm Strike and Lava Lash extend the duration of by 3 seconds up to a maximum of 30. So you can have this, and you would only need to refresh it really every 30 seconds. So you can happily put that on the floor. It lasts for 10 seconds, and then we start whacking things and it lasts for longer. So a nice way to heal your raid, maybe provide a little bit of off healing, a little bit of hybrid healing, which might be useful. Who knows? We have Feral Lunge, which lunges you at your enemy as a ghostly wolf. You bite them for a bit of damage, but the most important thing there is the charge effect, really. So you don't need to be a ghost wolf to use it, but you will turn into a ghost wolf and then back. Nice for a bit of movement. Windrush Totem summons a totem at the target location for 15 seconds, continually granting all allies who pass within 10 yards 60% increased movement speed for 5 seconds. So basically you can speed up your entire raid if they go near it, which is kind of like a stampeding roar. That's really cool to see on somebody else. Lightning Surge Totem is a AoE stun totem on a 45-second cooldown. It takes 2 seconds to explode and will stun for 5 seconds. Very useful to have in AoE situations. I've used this plenty of times in dungeons as well, just to help tanks out. It's really good to have. Earth Grab Totem does kind of the same thing, except it roots them instead of stuns them. Arguably not as useful, but maybe very good for kiting somewhere later. Voodoo Totem is kind of funny. 30-second cooldown, and you hex everything around it. You AoE hex, which is going to be crazy in PvP, potentially. Very fun, very fun. Lightning Shield is what it's always been. Surround yourself with a shield of lightning for 1 hour, which has a chance to deal a bit of nature damage when you deal or take melee damage. So a little bit of damage on your melee attacks might actually be very useful, except we have Ancestral Swiftness, which increases your haste and attack speed by 10%, which may be arguably better than, or we have Hailstorm. So Frostbrand now also enhances your weapon, causing each of your weapon attacks to also deal frost damage. So we can use Flame Tongue and Frostbrand. Now we're dealing frost and fire damage, and then we can go crazy with Wind Fury and Doom Winds and the extra attack speed and just deal all of that fire, frost, and nature damage all together. Guaranteed Wind Fury procs as well. So you can see how these buffs can kind of get crazy and add up. I really like that about Shaman. Tempest. Stormbringer now affects the next 2 Storm Strikes, so 2 Storm Strikes after it triggers will cost less and not trigger the cooldown. Overcharge. Lightning Bolt now consumes up to 60 Maelstrom for up to 1500% increased damage, but has a 7.6 second cooldown. So we can get ourselves a bunch of Maelstrom. And then Lightning Bolt for okay damage. It's okay damage. It's nothing crazy, but that means obviously if you want Lightning Bolt in your rotation, you can have it. Empowered Stormlash. Stormlash now spreads to 1 additional target and deals 30% additional damage, making you a bigger raid or group buff, really. A nice damage battery. Crashing Storm. Crash Lightning also electrifies the ground, leaving an electrical field behind which damages enemies within it for nature damage over 6 seconds. It's a mouthful. So we leave a patch of lightning on the floor, basically. Which, you know, AoE situations, definitely a good DPS increase. Except we have a few other choices. Fury of Air creates a vortex of wind 8 yards around you, dealing a bit of damage every second to enemies caught in the storm and slowing them by 30% for 3 seconds. It costs 5 Maelstrom plus 5 per second, meaning if you want to use this, you'll need to generate a lot of Maelstrom to keep it going. So let's get some Maelstrom. There's our amazing Tornado Storm, and we can basically keep it going as long as we have Maelstrom to fuel it. So you need to be careful how much Maelstrom you're spending and make sure you've got enough to keep it going. Then we also have Sundering. 60 Maelstrom, 40-second cooldown, shatters a line of earth in front of you with your main hand weapon, causing a huge amount of damage and knocking enemies to the side. Costs 60 Maelstrom, so that's going to be quite a lot. Okay, let's go Sunder. Not very long, nice little graphic, and does quite a bit of damage compared to the others, and obviously it's going to be one that you use and forget about rather than having to keep it up constantly. Now we have Ascendance. This is now a talent. It basically does the same thing, except it also generates 4 Maelstrom per second, and that's pretty much the only change. 15 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown, so if you want to go big cooldown, that's where you'd go, but if you want to go passive DPS increase, this is where you'd go. Landslide. Boulder Fist now also enhances your weapon, increasing attack power by 20% for 10 seconds. Because Boulder Fist and Rockbiter, if you don't have the Boulder Fist talent, isn't on a cooldown or is on a 5-second cooldown, that basically means you have a constant 20% attack power increase as long as you can attack something. So we can see we now get the Boulder Fist buff for the crit and damage dealt, as well as the attack power. There's a lot of passive buffs here. And then we have Earthen Spike. Summons an Earthen Spike under an enemy, dealing a bit of physical damage and increasing physical and nature damage you deal to the target by 10% for 10 seconds. Bear in mind that's not fire or frost, so it won't increase all of the damage you deal, but it's still 10% for maybe half the damage you deal. So again, we can use this and keep it up for a good duration. It's up for 50%, so potentially 20% attack power, even though it's passive, all the time might be better than a 10% damage increase for 50% of the time. So that's our basic abilities and our talents. Let's have a look how the artifact is shaping up. So we'll pop on over to the PvP realm where we have a fully powered artifact, so we can have a look at what all of this does together. Here's Doom Winds, we already looked at that. Hammer of Storms increases the damage dealt by Storm Strike by 15%. Gathering Storms, each target hit with Crash Lightning increases the damage dealt by your next Storm Strike within 12 seconds by 6%, meaning that whole AoE combo where you Crash Lightning to Storm Strike and make it cleave, that Storm Strike is going to deal a stupid amount of damage as well, so very important. Wind Strikes, when Stormbringer resets the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike, you gain 10% attack speed for 3 seconds, which we just gotta have all that attack speed. Increases healing done by Healing Surge by 30%, always nice to have. Storm Strike has a 30% chance to strike an additional time for 40% of normal damage, just damage on top of damage. Forged in Lava increases damage dealt by Lava Lash by 10%, because why not? Then we have our first big one, Doom Vortex. Lava Lash and Lightning Bolt have a chance to cause Doomhammer to release a fiery tornado at your target's location, dealing fire damage over 3 seconds to enemies within 3 yards. So let's give that one a look. It's Lightning Bolt as well, that's interesting. And there's your fiery tornado, we can get it off a Lava Lash as well. So that's cool, nice AoE potential again there. And let's go up to this one, because why not? Doom Wolves. Doomhammer imbues each of your feral spirits with fire, frost or lightning, granting them an extra ability. Sadly, because we don't really control our wolves at all, we don't know what that ability is, but it changes the way they look, so that's cool, and I assume it deals more damage, which, you know, Enhancement Shaman seems to be head and tails above the rest anyway, so why not give us some more? And back down here we have Wind Surge, increases the damage dealt by Wind Fury by 15%, Rock Biter generates an additional 3 Maelstrom. While Feral Spirits are active, Crash Lightning causes your wolves to attack all nearby enemies for 10 seconds, giving you more cleave potential. I really don't see how anyone's going to beat an Enhancement Shaman at this point. Weapons of the Elements increases damage dealt by Flame Tongue, Rock Biter and Frost Brand by 10%. Elemental Healing, activating Astral Shift, heals you for 30% of your maximum health over 15 seconds. Remember, the Astral Shift is your damage reduction ability, so you get free healing when you need to take less damage. Raging Storms, when Stormbringer resets the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike, it also increases damage dealt by your next Storm Strike by 50%, giving you even more damage. I feel like attack speed and mastery are just going to be all over Enhancement Shamans. All over. While in combat in Ghost Wolf form, you generate 15 Maelstrom every 2 seconds. While in combat in Ghost Wolf form. So if you ever want to bite people, you can actually generate Maelstrom, even though we don't see Maelstrom when we're a wolf, so I guess that's incredibly useful, but hopefully that'll get changed. While in combat in Ghost Wolf form. That's really interesting. That's a nice little tidbit, I guess. Really cool if you're in raids, because obviously you're not going to go out of combat, so if you need to relocate, you can Ghost Wolf and generate Maelstrom on the way. Cool. Unleash Doom. Storm Strike has a chance to unleash the power of the Doom Hammer, causing your special attacks to heave molten lava or lightning spikes at your target for fire or nature damage. So you get more damage on your Storm Strike, basically. Let's see if we can get that. There we go. A lightning spike and a lava spike. And that is Enhancement Shaman. It's really fun to play right now. All those bits and pieces come together to form a complete rotation, a complete class fantasy, and it really does feel so rewarding to play. You destroy things so quickly if you line everything up well. And I think it's pretty rewarding gameplay too. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions or queries about Enhancement Shaman, or anything you'd like to see from the beta, leave that in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.